Rain fell hard from the gray sky. The wind was cold, sharp, and full of dust. The war had ended days ago, but the planet still looked broken. Buildings were in ruins. Fires still burned in some corners. The smell of smoke and blood was everywhere. A human soldier named Daniel walked slowly through the empty street. His armor was scratched, and his face was tired. He had seen too many dead, too much pain. But orders were orders. He was here to search for survivors. Then he heard something. A soft sound, a voice. He stopped, turned his head. The sound came from a dark alley between two broken buildings. Help. It was weak. Almost a whisper. Daniel raised his rifle carefully and stepped into the alley. The shadows were deep. Rain poured down from above, making everything wet and cold. He moved forward slowly. Then he saw her. An alien woman, tall, thin, shaking. Her skin was light blue. Her long hair stuck to her face from the rain. She was kneeling on the ground, holding two small alien children close to her chest. The children looked even worse, tiny, dirty, with hollow eyes and empty stomachs. Daniel's heart froze. The woman looked up at him. Her lips trembled. "Please," she whispered. "Take them. Take my children. Feed them." Daniel blinked. "What? Why would you?" "Take me too," she said quickly, eyes full of pain. "Make me yours. I have nothing else. No food, no family, no future. Just them." He lowered his rifle. This wasn't a trick. This wasn't a trap. She was really begging him to adopt her children. "And her? Where's your husband?" he asked. "Dead," she said. Her voice broke. "Died in the battle. They burned our home. No one helped. They said we were cursed." Daniel looked at the children again. One of them was trying to chew on a piece of cloth. The other was too weak to even move. A drop of water fell from above. The woman didn't even flinch. She had been in this rain for hours. "Maybe longer. You want me to take you in?" he asked, confused. "I'm just a soldier." "You are human," she said. "Humans are kinder than my own people. They spit on me, called me useless. I begged for food, but they laughed. One man tried to trade food for my body. I ran." Daniel clenched his jaw. His fists tightened. She was telling the truth. He took off his coat and walked closer. The children looked scared. The woman wrapped her arms tighter around them. "I'm not here to hurt you," Daniel said gently. "Let me help." He knelt beside them and covered the children with his coat. Their tiny bodies shook. The woman gasped as the warmth touched them. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she said. "My children, Mika and Rena." He looked around. They needed shelter fast. The rain was getting colder and night was coming. "There's an old shop nearby," he said. "Come with me. I'll find food, warmth." Sarah's lips quivered. "Why are you helping?" "Because no one else is," he said. She nodded slowly and tried to stand, but her legs were too weak. Daniel helped her up. He carried one child while Sarah held the other. Step by step, they walked out of the alley. The street was silent, but Daniel stayed alert. Something didn't feel right. He looked behind once, then again, and then bang. A loud gunshot echoed through the air. Daniel spun around, dropping low and pulling Sarah down with him. The shot had hit the wall just above them. "Get down!" he shouted. He scanned the area with his rifle. "Who's shooting?" Sarah cried, eyes wide in fear. Daniel looked toward the rooftop. A shadow moved too fast. "They're not after me," Daniel said quietly. "They're after you." Sarah's face went pale. "No, they found me." "Who?" Daniel demanded. "My own kind," she whispered. "They want me dead. I broke the law. I asked a human to take me. That's forbidden." Daniel's blood boiled. "They left you to die, and now they want to kill you for surviving. She nodded. Please, if you must leave us, leave now. Save yourself. Daniel stared at her, then at the children. Cold, hungry, terrified. He shook his head. No. He raised his rifle and helped them stand. I'm not leaving anyone behind. As the rain fell harder and the enemy closed in, Daniel led them into the night, ready to fight not just for survival, but for something more, a second chance. The first bullet missed. The second didn't. It struck the wall just inches from Daniel's head, sending bits of brick flying into his face. He didn't blink. He just grabbed Sierra's wrist and whispered, "Run!" But she didn't move. She stood frozen, her children clinging to her legs, her eyes wide with something worse than fear recognition. It's them, she breathed. They found me. Daniel pulled her behind a rusted transport truck. Who? Who the hell are they? She didn't answer. Not with words. Instead, she slowly pointed up toward the rooftop. 3 shadowy figures stood there, tall, slim, armored. In black, their glowing eyes looked inhuman, cold, without mercy. One raised a long rifle and aimed it again at the woman. Crack! Daniel fired first. The sniper ducked and the rooftop went silent. Move! Daniel shouted. Get to that shop. Sierra finally nodded, and they ran together through the broken street. One child in Daniel's arms, one in hers. Rain lashed their faces. Blaster bolts sizzled past their heads, burning holes into the ground. Around them, they reached an old bakery with shattered glass windows and kicked in the back door. Inside, it smelled of burnt dough and mold. But it was shelter. Daniel dropped the child gently on a dusty blanket and turned to block the door. Sierra collapsed beside her daughter. Her shoulders shook. Not from the cold, but from something deeper. Daniel checked his rifle and turned to her. Talk to me. Who are those people? Sierra wiped her face, not caring about the dirt. They are not soldiers. They are enforcers. What does that mean? They hunt women like me, she said quietly. Widows who don't follow the old ways. We're not allowed to ask for help. We must die in silence. With honor. Begging is shameful. Mating with a human? She looked at him now. That's worse than death to them. Daniel stared at her. You mean they're trying to kill you? Just because you asked me to feed your kids? She nodded slowly. I thought your people were advanced, he said. They are, she replied bitterly. But only in weapons and rules, not in kindness. Daniel sat down beside the children. They stared at him, curious and afraid. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a protein bar. He broke it in half and handed it to them. They hesitated. Eat, he said softly. You need strength. They took it. They ate like they hadn't tasted food in days. Sierra watched, eyes wet. I tried to keep them alive. I stole bread. I begged at markets. One trader said I should sell my daughter to him. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. I should have come sooner. You came when no one else did, she said. That's enough. Suddenly crack. The glass shattered. A dart flew through the window and hit the wall behind Sierra. She screamed. Daniel pushed her down and rolled the children under the counter. They're here. He crawled to the front, rifle ready. Outside, Boots stepped into the mud. Slow, confident. A voice called out, strangely soft, almost polite. Give her to us, human. She has broken the code. Her death is justice. Daniel didn't answer. You are not her kind, the voice continued. Why risk your life for her? You gain nothing. Daniel stared at Sierra's trembling form, then at the kids hiding behind her. He shouted back, I gain my soul. A pause, then laughter. Cold, echoing. You will die for nothing. The voice said. Another dart flew in, this one aimed at Daniel. He ducked just in time. I can't stay here, he muttered. They'll burn this place down. He turned to Sierra. We run again. She looked exhausted. Where? They'll never stop. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Then we find somewhere they won't follow. Where is that? He stood tall, my world. He wasn't supposed to care. But when the alien girl called him Papa, something cracked inside him. Daniel had just kicked down the side door of an abandoned train station. It smelled like rust, old oil, and death, but it was shelter. Placed the sleeping child gently on a folded tarp and turned to check on the others. The rain outside had turned to a light mist, but the air still carried danger. Sierra was sitting on a metal crate. Her wet clothes clung to her body, but she didn't care. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to her chest. Her daughter, the younger one, Rena, reached up, touched Daniel's hand, and whispered, "Papa." He froze. Time slowed. Her voice was tiny, scared, but full of hope. A name spoken by instinct. Sierra's eyes widened in shock, and her lips parted to say something, anything, but no words came out. Daniel looked down at the small girl and slowly knelt beside her. "Why did she call me that?" he asked softly. Sierra's voice cracked. "In our culture, a child doesn't call someone that unless she trusts them, truly trusts them." Daniel swallowed hard. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't trained for this. "I'm just a soldier," he muttered, sitting on the floor, staring at the wall. Sierra looked at him. Not anymore. The silence between them was thick, but not empty. Something heavy hung in the air. Something new, something real. Then SCRRR to CHHHH. A sound outside the metal wall. Sharp claws against iron. Daniel's training kicked in. He grabbed his rifle and motioned Sierra to grab the children. "Stay low," he whispered. She crawled behind a crate with the kids. Just as the door creaked open, Daniel raised his rifle ready to shoot. But it wasn't a soldier. It was an alien animal. A wild beast, long-limbed and blind in one eye. Starving, angry, and sniffing for food. It growled and charged. Daniel fired. Once, twice. But the thing kept coming. He jumped in front of the children, shielding them with his body. But then Sierra moved faster than he expected. She grabbed a broken pipe and slammed it across the creature's face. It howled and crashed into a wall, dazed. Daniel fired again, this time into its chest. The beast collapsed, breathing heavy. Daniel lowered his weapon and turned to her. "You just saved me," he said, amazed. She smiled weakly. "You saved us first." He helped her sit down, his hand brushing her arm. They paused. The room was quiet except for the children's soft breathing. Daniel finally spoke. "Why me? Why ask a human to take you in? You didn't know me." Sierra's voice was low. "Because you didn't look at me like a tool. Or shame, you looked at me like I mattered." He said nothing. She leaned back, closed her eyes. "My people follow rules, cold ones, no love, no second chances. When my mate died, I became nothing, just a burden. But my children were still hungry, still alive, so I ran." Daniel nodded slowly. "That's not a burden. That's courage." Sierra looked at him. "You think I'm worth something?" He turned to her fully. "You risked everything for your kids. That's worth more than most soldiers I've fought beside." She blinked back, tears for the first time in many days. She smiled, just a little. Daniel opened his backpack and handed her a human emergency ration. She looked at the strange packaging. Confused, he chuckled. "Tastes terrible, but it'll fill your stomach." She took it, bit it, eyes widened. "This is disgusting." He laughed, really laughed, for the first time since the war started. The kids giggled too. It was a small moment, but it felt like sunlight through a storm. Then a flash outside the window. Daniel stood up fast. His smile vanished. "What is it?" Sierra asked, alert. He peeked through a crack. A drone. Watching. Recording. Then it flew off. He cursed under his breath. "They found us again," he said. "They'll be back. And they won't send animals next time." Sierra stood, her strength returning. "Then let's not be here when they do." Daniel looked at her. Her eyes were tired, but strong. Something had changed. She wasn't just a widow anymore. She was a mother, a fighter, and maybe something more. It wasn't a bullet that almost killed her. It was the fever. The cold night passed slowly. Too slowly. Daniel sat beside the fire he built from broken furniture inside a collapsed storage room. The air was thick with smoke, but it was warm, and for now, safe. Sierra lay on a pile of blankets near the fire, her body wrapped in his coat. Her skin was pale and damp. Her breath came in short, shallow gasps. The children slept quietly beside her, unaware of the danger. Daniel dipped a cloth in water and pressed it to her forehead. Again. Still hot, still burning. He cursed it under his breath. The bite from that wild beast wasn't just a scratch. It had venom, or maybe bacteria. Alien biology was unpredictable, and Sarah was losing strength fast. He had used everything in his med kit already. Painkillers, bandages, clean water. But the fever kept rising. She shivered and whispered in a broken voice, "Don't let them be alone." Daniel leaned closer. "You're not going to die." Sarah opened her eyes weakly. "You don't know that." He clenched his jaw. "Then I'll make sure you don't." She smiled faintly. "You care too much for a human." He looked at her, eyes serious. "And your people care too little." She closed her eyes again. Daniel stood and picked up his scanner. He had one last hope. According to the map, there was an old alien farming station just 2 miles north. Abandoned, but maybe still growing healing herbs in its greenhouse pods. Something the locals use for wounds and infections. He looked at the sleeping children. Then at Sierra. He had to go. But he couldn't take them all with him. He left a blaster beside the older child, then gently shook him awake. "Listen, Mika," he whispered. "I need you to be brave. Stay here with your sister and your mom. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't let the fire die." The little boy nodded sleepily. "Are you leaving?" "I'll be back soon," Daniel said. "And I'll bring something to make your mom better." The boy stared up at him with big eyes. "You promise?" Daniel smiled and touched his head. "I promise." Then he stepped into the night. The wind had turned sharp again. It bit at his skin and carried the strange smells of the alien world: wet plants, rust, and something sour, almost like acid in the air. He moved fast, sticking to shadows, scanning for movement. After 20 minutes, he reached the farming pod. It was cracked and overgrown, vines twisting through its steel doors. But the greenhouse was still alive. Inside, glowing plants lit the darkness with soft blue and purple light. He searched quickly, scanning leaves and roots. Then he found it. A short, red-leafed herb with black veins. He remembered the name: root. A natural fever killer for this species, used by alien farmers during heatwave seasons. He grabbed as much as he could, stuffed it into his pack, and turned to leave, but a sound stopped him. Crunch. A footstep. Not his. He dropped low behind a broken pot and listened. Another step. Then voices. Alien, male, cold. "We saw the drone footage. They're hiding nearby. Orders are clear. Kill the traitor female and the human. No mercy." Daniel's blood ran cold. They were getting close. Too close. He waited until the voices moved deeper into the farm, then slipped out the way he came, running fast, breath burning his chest. By the time he reached the shelter, his legs were shaking. He burst inside. Mika ran to him. She got worse. Daniel dropped to his knees beside Sierra. She was barely breathing now. He quickly crushed the colon root, boiled it in the hot pot by the fire, then carefully lifted her head and helped her drink. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly, her breathing steadied. Her skin cooled. Her lips stopped trembling. And then she opened her eyes. "Daniel." He let out a long breath. "You scared me." She blinked. "You came back." "Of course I did." Her hand reached up and touched his cheek. "You saved me." Again, he nodded. Yeah, you're getting used to that. She smiled. This time, real warm alive. The fire crackled beside them, and the children curled up near their mother, safe once more. Daniel sat beside them, his eyes never leaving her face. In that quiet moment, no shots fired. No soldiers marched. No rules mattered. Just warmth. Just breath. Just a broken family, slowly becoming whole again. The message came just as Sira smiled for the first time. A soft chime in Daniel's earpiece, cold, sharp, military tone. He froze. The smile vanished from his face. Sira noticed. What is it? Daniel didn't answer. He stepped away from the fire and pressed the button on his wrist. Com. A hologram appeared, blue light flickering in the dusty air. It was Commander Reeves. Hard eyes. No warmth, no patience. Sergeant Daniel Hayes, the voice said. You've missed 2 check-ins and ignored recall orders. What's your status? Daniel said nothing. I'll be direct, Reeves continued. We saw drone footage. You've taken in a female enemy and her offspring. Daniel took a breath. They're not enemies, they're survivors. Civilians, Reeves' voice got colder. They're aliens. You are not authorized to harbor them. Return to base immediately. If you don't, you'll be marked as AWOL. Absent. Without leave. Daniel muttered to himself. A criminal. A traitor. Do you understand? Reeves said. Leave them. Come home. The message ended. Silence. Daniel stood there, staring at the empty space where the hologram had been. Then he turned. Sira was watching. She had heard it all. Her face was calm, but her eyes were breaking. If you must go, she said. Softly, I won't stop you. Daniel walked over and sat beside her. They want me to abandon you. She nodded. He looked at her children. Mika was sleeping with his head on his sister's chest, tiny hands still clutching the old protein bar wrapper. Sira kept her voice low. I won't beg this time. Not again. You don't have to. Daniel stared at the fire, jaw tight. All his life, he had followed orders. He was trained to obey, to stay loyal, to leave emotions behind. But here, this widow had trusted him. These children had called him Papa. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was something more. I'm not leaving, he said at last. Sira blinked. You'll become a criminal, he nodded. Then I'll be one. She touched his hand slowly. Why? He looked at her. Really looked, because when I held your daughter in my arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Family. Maybe even love. Sira's breath caught. You say your people believe in shame, Daniel said, voice firm. But I don't. I believe in choice. And I choose this. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she smiled through them. Then you are no longer just human, she whispered. You are ours. Suddenly, beep, beep his wrist. Com flashed red. Another alert. A drone was nearby. Watching. Tracking. Double quotes. They know I'm not coming back. Daniel muttered. Now they'll come for me. He stood and scanned the window. Outside in the fog, a small shadow hovered, a military drone. High tech. Armed. It flew away fast, no longer hiding. They're sending a unit, Daniel said. We have hours. Maybe less. Sira stood too, her body still weak, but her voice strong. Then let's not waste time. Let's prepare. He looked at her. Not as a widow now, but as a warrior. A mother, a partner. I'll build traps, Daniel said. You guard the kids. If they come, we make them bleed for every step. Sira placed her hand on his chest. If we don't survive, she said, just know, I never expected a human to give me hope. Daniel grinned. Hope's free, and I've got plenty. They began to move quickly, stacking crates at doors, setting old metal rods as spears, wiring the windows with noise triggers. As the fire burned low and the cold night crept in, they worked together in silence. In unity. One former soldier, one forgotten widow, and 2 children who finally had someone who stayed. Asterisk, the blast shattered the door before dawn. The sky outside was still dark. The fire inside barely aglow. Daniel was the first to react. He pushed the children behind a wall of crates and pulled Sierra down with him just as the metal door exploded inward in a flash of smoke and light. Boots stormed in. Dark. Armored soldiers. Human soldiers. Soldiers. Sergeant Daniel Hayes. A voice barked, "Stand down and surrender the alien." Daniel stood up slowly, rifle in hand. His chest burned, but he didn't lower his weapon. "I won't," he said calmly. "Don't be stupid, Daniel. She's not worth it. She's a mother. She's a lawbreaker. She's family." A pause. Then the voice came again, colder this time. "Last warning." Sierra's voice whispered behind him. "Don't die for me." Daniel didn't look back. Too late for that. Then came the shot. Fast. Silent. Straight at her. But Daniel moved faster. He jumped in front of her. The blast hit his side. Hard. He fell to the ground, groaning in pain but alive. "Daniel!" Sierra screamed, rushing to him. "I'm fine," he gasped. Armor caught most of it, but blood was already pooling under him. The soldiers moved forward. Again. Sierra stood. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She grabbed the broken pipe Daniel had once used for firewood and threw it at the nearest soldier's visor. Crack. It hit dead center. The soldier dropped. Sierra rushed to the blaster on the ground and fired wildly, forcing the others to take cover. She didn't know how to shoot well, but it was enough to buy time. Daniel used his last strength to pull himself up and tossed a flash grenade behind a crate. Boom! White light. The soldiers were blinded. Sierra grabbed the children and pulled them toward the back tunnel. Daniel limped after them, blood staining his uniform. They escaped into the service corridor, breathing hard, every step filled with pain. They stopped only when they reached the exit hatch, a narrow metal tunnel that led to the outside world. Daniel collapsed to one knee. Sierra turned and held his face. "You need help. You can't keep moving." He laughed weakly. "Not planning to run, just planning to stand. You'll die. Not if I take them with me." Sierra looked back toward the tunnel they came from, then at him. Then at her children crying. "Afraid but alive." "I won't let you fight alone," she said. "You have to protect the kids." "I will. But I'll protect you too." He looked at her, really looked. Her eyes were full of strength, of fire. Not the weak widow anymore, not the broken woman. This was the warrior her children saw. He nodded slowly. "Okay, let's end this together." They set the last traps. They placed broken power cells by the tunnel walls, homemade explosives. They loaded blasters, and they waited. As the sun rose over the ruined land, Daniel and Sierra stood side by side, wounded but proud. This wasn't about war anymore. This was about a family. Smoke rose from the battlefield, but this time, the smoke didn't carry death. It carried freedom. Daniel stood with shaking legs, blood drying on his armor, blaster still hot in his hand. Around him lay the broken remains of the last 2 soldiers who tried to take Sierra and her children. The homemade traps had worked, not perfectly, but enough. Sierra rushed to his side. Her hair was messy, face smudged, but her eyes were glowing. "You're alive," she whispered, touching his cheek gently. Daniel smiled through the pain. "Told you, not dying today." Behind them, Mika peeked from behind a crate, holding his sister's hand tightly. The little girl had stopped crying. She was staring at Daniel like he was a hero from a bedtime story. To her, he was. Sierra helped Daniel sit down, and together they watched the sun rise. It was beautiful. Not Earth's sun, but still beautiful. A new kind of sky. A new kind of life. After some silence, Sierra finally spoke. "They'll send more," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "Eventually, but not yet. I don't want to run forever." He looked at her. "Then don't." She tilted her head. What do you mean? I contacted a smuggler last night. Used my old emergency code. He owed me a favor. He's coming. In 2 days. A ship. No questions asked. Her breath caught. You planned this? He nodded. I knew I'd choose you. I just didn't know when. Sierra sat beside him, quiet, then said, Where will we go? Daniel looked up at the sky, somewhere quiet, somewhere green. I know a moon where no one follows rules. Just people starting fresh, farmers, traders, families. Her eyes lit up at that last word. Families. Daniel turned to her fully. You asked me something once, back in the rain. Do you remember? She blushed a little. I begged you to adopt my children and make me your mate. He took her hand in his, and I never answered properly. She looked at him, holding her breath. Daniel smiled. Yes, tears filled her eyes. Yes? She asked. I want to be their father. I want to be your mate. I want to wake up to this chaos every morning, as long as it's our chaos. She laughed softly through the tears. You're terrible at romantic words, he grinned. I'm a soldier, not a poet. Then he leaned forward and gently kissed her forehead. Behind them, Mika and Rana giggled, watching from a distance. Mama, Mika whispered, does that mean he's really ours now? Sierra turned to them and smiled. Yes, she said. He's truly ours. 2 days later, the smuggler ship arrived at dawn, rusty, loud, and full of strange smells, but it flew. Daniel helped load the bags, most of them filled with blankets, food, and the children's drawings. As the engines powered up, Sierra stepped aboard with her daughter in her arms. Mika followed, holding Daniel's hand tightly. Before leaving, Daniel looked back at the war-torn land. He had come here as a soldier. He was leaving as a father. As a mate. As something far better than a fighter. He turned to Sierra. We're not just escaping, he said. We're building something. She nodded. A home. The ship lifted off slowly, leaving the broken world behind. In space, stars stretched across the dark like silver paint. Mika pressed his face to the window. Are those other worlds? Yes, Daniel said, lifting him into his lap. One of them is waiting for us. Sierra sat beside him, her hand on his chest. And for the first time in a long, long time, they were warm, they were safe, and they were family.